We offer our prayerful salutations to that Lord Ranganatha who is in Yoga Nidra on the Adisesha under the golden temple dome that resembles a lotus bud, the Pranavakara Vimana. Surrounded by the 7 ramparts between the 2 rivers, Kaveri and Kollidam, the Lord lies immersed in this transcendental superconscious state. The first of the 108 Vaishnavite pilgrimage centers, the temple town of Srirangam lies on the banks of the river Kaveri, and it is the only largest functioning temple complex in the whole world. Vibhishana joyously carried the golden Vimana that he received as a special gift from Sri Rama at his coronation. He placed this Ranga Vimana on the banks of the Chandra Pushkarini. The Lord expressed his desire to stay in this beautiful environment. The Chola king Dharmavarma joyously built a temple for the Lord. The Koil Olugu, the chronicles maintained by the temple, mentions that the temple built by Dharmavarma Chola came to be buried in a sandstorm and a forest grew over it and around the place. At a parrot's signal, a Chola king who was ruling then and who is remembered today as Kilicholan unearthed the Vimana and reconstructed the temple. The rich treasures of this temple attracted the Muslim invaders who raided, looted and emptied the coffers. There were 2 Islamic invasions, gloomy periods in the historical annals of the temple. Several brave kings and devotees fought fearlessly and sacrificed their lives to safeguard the deities of the temple. There was much bloodshed. A festive fervor always lingers in the temple precincts of Srirangam throughout the year for nearly 322 days. This grand temple complex has 7 prakaras or enclosures, 50 small shrines spread over 156 acres, and 21 gopuras that are monumental towers constructed in the Dravidian style of architecture. The Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, Hoysalas, the kings of the Vijayanagara dynasty, and the Nayaks of Madurai contributed to the development and the construction of this great temple. The Raja Gopura, the main entrance doorway, is considered to be the largest in Asia, rising 236 feet high with 13 stories left unfinished by Krishnadevaraya and later completed by the 44th year of Ahobila Mutt in 1987. The inner four enclosures house the temple proper. Stone pavilions or mantapas are the archetypal features of the South Indian temple. They range from simple 4-pillared to 1,000-pillared gigantic structures. Each of these structures have exquisite pillars, all carved with impressive life-size statues of kings, dancing girls, yaris, Dashavatara of Mahavishnu, Puranic scenes from the historical records, and so on, which throw light on the greatness of the deity in the temple as well as the historical period it belonged to and the king who was responsible for its construction. The Sri Venugopala Shrine is a fine example of the art and architecture prevalent during the times of the Hoysala dynasty. The pillars and the beautiful sculptures in granite in this quadrangular Sannidhi reflect the expertise of the Hoysala artisans. This is the only temple in Tamil Nadu where the contribution of the Hoysala kings towards art and architecture are evident. The world-famous Seshagiri Rayar Mantapa is a 100-pillared pavilion that was built during the reign of Sri Krishnadevaraya by his lieutenant Seshagiri Rayar. There are 8 pillars that have the intricately carved horse brackets, each one of them differently conceived and unique. The base and the rectangular blocks of the shaft are covered with arresting sculptures. This is a masterpiece among all the mantapas in the Srirangam temple. This is a 1,000-pillared grand mantapa of the Vijayanagara period with outstanding sculptures. Numerous interesting sculptures of dancing girls or devadasis who served Lord Ranganatha are seen on the pillars and in the stone walls in various parts of the temple, especially in the 1,000-pillared mantapa and the Arjuna mantapa. Striking bronze figurines of Sri Mahavishnu, Sri Kodandarama and Sri Lakshmi belonging to the Chola period are displayed in the temple museum. The priceless ivory sculptures belong to the 17th and the 18th centuries and are the handiwork of the Nayaka artisans. The craftsmen have captured the expression of the gods and the humans in a very realistic manner. The temple of Srirangam is a refulgent repository of the Itihasas and the Puranas that are reflected in the mural paintings found scattered in its precincts. It is believed that between the 13th and the 17th century Common Era, many mantapas, gopuras, and shrines in the temple complex had mural paintings that expressed the story of Lord Vishnu, his avatars, the story of the Pranavakara Vimana, and depiction of legends from the Ramayana and hagiological representations from the lives of the Alvars and the Acharyas. There has been 500 years of mural activity thriving in the confines of the temple. These murals are brilliant paintings made with herbal and vegetable dyes that were meant to stand the test of time.
Our ancient temples were poetry frozen in time. Stone pillars are common because it can handle compressive force. Most of our ancient stone structures in the temples have many closely placed pillar structures like the 4-pillared mantapas, the 100-pillared mantapas and the 1,000-pillared mantapa. The stone beams used in these structures do not exceed 20 feet span. Although the tensile strength of the stone restricted the span of the building, the closely placed stone pillars, roof slab and the beams gave the sculptors and the artisans a great opportunity to create ornate pillars and stone walls with complicated and picturesque carvings and the colorful paintings. The capital of the column was increased step by step as shown in the figures with sculptures of yari, lion and the plantain flower and so on. The cantilever in the capital of the column helped to reduce the span of the roof. With reference to these basic building principles followed by the architects and the sculptors of those ancient times, we can understand the development of a 4-pillared mantapa module to a 1,000-pillared mantapa. The gopuras are rectangular in shape with floor area reducing as it goes higher. There are staircases inside the structure that lead to the top of the tower. The stone foundation is not more than 3 meters deep. The load-bearing walls are constructed from multi-leaf stone masonry and lime mortar with granite blocks and a core built from rubble masonry. The upper stories are made from burnt clay and brick masonry in lime mortar. There are 3-dimensional stucco images of the presiding deity, his vahanas, and the alvars and the acharyas. In Srirangam, the gopurams have been styled in such a way that the large gopuras are higher in the outer prakara and diminish in size from one ensuing prakara to the next, being very small at the Garbhagriha or the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the main deity resides with only a small gold-plated dome or vimana above it. Colonial historians like Professor Ferguson and L. Moore, who are ignorant of our agamic philosophy, emphasize that the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Garbhagriha, is too small and insignificant and should be grand and large like their churches or cathedrals. Any Hindu temple has a grand entrance, and all the mantapas and structures outside the Sanctum Sanctorum are ornate and exhibit heavily designed pillars and paintings. But the Garbhagriha or the sanctum is always small and dimly lit. It emphasizes that the bhakta or the devotee arrives at the Lord's shrine, leaving all worldly attachments in the outer prakaras to attain moksha, to be with the Lord alone. To a Hindu bhakta, the Lord is among us and resides within us. The ancient town of Srirangam has several heritage buildings and holy matams in the 2 streets outside the temple complex, the Chittirai and the Uttara Veedi, where the priests reside, which are rapidly disappearing. We have documented these buildings for future reference in facade development. Electrical wires hang frightfully like torrents all over from the lampposts placed indiscriminately. While one building proudly displays the pre-independence British insignia on its face, another just next to it is pathetically fashioned with glass, aluminium composite panels and concrete structure, a stye in the eye. These modern additions are an eyesore. The local corporation or municipality should provide the license for construction only if facade controls are strictly followed. In this slide, the existing chaotic facade of the buildings in the Uttara and Chitra Veedis are seen. I have designed a set of exterior alternate facades, elevation designs for a single, double and 2-storied buildings that will bring about a uniform frontage in the buildings and restore the ancient flavor of the town. Strict guidelines must be drawn out for the prospective builders. Some of the residences here still retain the old world charm. It is the dream of most of the Vaishnavites to settle in Srirangam after the retirement. Special thought should be given to community housing, riverfront development, retirement, old age homes may be beautifully developed along the river Kaveri. This is an illustration of the aerial view of the town that highlights the 7 enclosures of the temple. In this town, the approach road that leads to the Rajagopuram is overcrowded with vehicular traffic, a sea of humans walking up and down, hundreds of shops that line the street, roadside hawkers, shrines and rest houses. Everything that has been added appears out of place, chaos reigns supreme. The architecture is confusing, the shops are total anarchy and there is bedlam everywhere. As an architect and a town planner, I felt that it was imperative for me to offer a solution to this commotion and disarray, both figuratively and literally. To begin with, we have designed a grand plaza and a vista landscape with waterway leading to the Rajagopuram. The road from Rajagopuram to Rangaranga Gopuram should serve solely as a pathway for pedestrians. No vehicle should be allowed as there are alternate routes available. A pedestrian plaza and a colonnade or a walkway can be constructed which will give a great lift to the town. Strict traffic regulations should be drawn to curtail the existing chaos. The existing shops can be shifted to the first floor of the walkway. This will also serve as a pleasant route for the temple procession, which today is a chaotic experience. If the ancient temple of Srirangam is promoted with a state-of-the-art auditorium, interpretation center and a museum, more tourists will flock to this temple town. Homestays could be encouraged in the houses that are built on the lines of ancient architectural designs of this town. It will help the economy of the town to grow, as the people themselves will spend for their own constructions. Whether it is a home or a public structure, the government will not have any financial obligation. If the builders use only the facade designs offered by the authorities, a certain uniformity will be achieved and there will be a semblance to the glorious architecture of yesteryears. The local authorities should prominently showcase these temple cities as epicenter for raising them into smart cities. All over the world, effort is being made to renovate and reconstruct, restructure and resurrect the old cities so that the historical sites and cities remain intact and are redeemed before they face destructions in the hands of the insensitive communities. Srirangam is a living heritage and an international urban magnet where every day there is a special celebration and the tourists from all over the world visit by thousands to participate in every festivity. It is not a museum where a collection of artifacts representing its culture and history are exhibited. Instead, it is a thriving and the biggest functioning temple complex in the whole world. While restoring historical sites and using the infrastructure that are already in place, we fulfill our fiscal and the environmental responsibility as architects.